So, calling the Kampoosa Stewardship Committee meeting to order. First on the agenda was to approve minutes from July 17th.
I would say, can we put a hold on that and see if there's additions, since you were unsure? You know, I didn't get a chance to look at.
Me neither. I literally just looked at it and I could, yeah, maybe we could postpone it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
That way I'll have time to, because I have a million notes on my old agenda that probably could help with
Okay,
filling in a
that'd be
little bit.
grand, okay.
So, okay. Next.
I don't think I was there.
Okay, great.
No,
So the next thing was the vision and mission statements. I always say vision. So I had sent you guys, so Sally, before you were on the committee, we discussed it multiple times. And then I sent out, based on those discussions, I sent out kind of a draft with a whole bunch of different words for various things. And then I know you went on top of it and added your comments, which actually took us back to where we originally started before you were involved. So I'm gonna just, if I can briefly recap that, we originally, when I talked about this to you guys, a vision statement is supposed to be aspirational. So I gave you that example of there's an organization that Matt Damon was one of the founders, it's called Water. And their vision statement is to provide clean water to every person in the world. And we know that will never happen, right? There's not one organization that could make that happen. It's very aspirational, but that's what a vision statement is supposed to be. So when we discussed our vision statement, we looked at the one from the previous committee, which was quite aspirational because it talked about restoring, preserving. And I know we had a lot of good discussion about what are we preserving it back to? Is it pre-contact? Is it pre-Route 7? Is it the Turnpike? Where it could be any one of those things. So that was how we ended up throwing out restore, sorry, not preserve, restore, yeah. Then you put restore back in and you are following the idea of what a vision statement is supposed to be, which is supposed to be aspirational. So I want us to talk about restore, to restore or not to restore. I think it makes sense for it to be in there because it should be aspirational.
We talked about, I know that there was some question about what you would restore it back to.
Yes.
And we had talked about when the Turnpike went through, that we thought was something that we could document at least to some degree. Whereas before that, it was in the
58, something like that?
50s.
50s. Okay, I feel
My
like
father
I
was
looked it up.
My father was on the planning board when that was going through, and I remember him jumping up and down and screaming and yelling about them putting the Turnpike through.
So you come by this honestly.
I do, and I remember my first bicycle ride on a two-wheeler was down the hill toward the Turnpike Bridge, and I crashed and burned and got a heck of a skinned knee. But, I mean, it was a big deal. I remember it, just as a young child of that going through, and it was.
Still a big deal.
It was.
A big deal because of where they put it.
Where they put it, yep. Because what idiot decided it should go through Stockbridge instead of up through Pittsfield, where it really
Pittsfield
could
is
have
still
helped
asking themselves that
GE
question.
and all the industries that were up there at the time. And instead, they stuck it right through the middle of rural Stockbridge, which made no sense.
Right, I know there were a lot of discussions about who got an exit and who didn't get an exit and all that stuff too, so.
My understanding is that Kimberly Clark put their foot on the scale, and that was the deciding
Are
factor.
they still here?
No. No, they're
of them as
not.
being based in
So,
Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All right, so
it would
then,
have made such a difference to North County if they had gone through
Definitely.
Pittsfield, but.
well, where did we land prior to, where was our last
our last one was
vision statement?
preserve, protect, and something the fen/bog by fostering community support and stewardship of the Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin, ACEC, and environs. The last committee didn't have environs or surrounding areas, and we felt it was important to add that, while preventing further something, either damage, decline, deterioration, or destruction to flora, fauna, water, and environment.
And this is still vision, not mission.
This is vision, yeah, yeah.
I like it.
So, the word restore, which I put in my email to all of you guys when did I send this out? July 17th. Restore means bring back, reinstate, or return to a former condition or state. I mean, if you think about it, if we, aggressively go in and remove invasive plants, whatever they are, that's a restoration.
I think that was always the original plan of this. It was
I think it makes
especially
sense.
to preserve the bog, but you can't preserve it and allow the invasive species to take over because they'll take over the native plants and they're.
And you're
a
preserving
lot of-
something different than what was there before
Right,
then.
there are a lot of, endangered species, both flora and fauna, that I think need protecting. And-
Right.
And to my way of thinking anyway, that's what this committee is supposed to be looking at. Whether we can actually do it is a whole other story, but.
Read it one more time.
So I'm going to read what Sally suggested, okay? Is that all right?
Yeah.
To preserve, protect, restore, and, oh, we have preserve twice, okay. To protect, restore, and preserve the fen by fostering community support and stewardship of the Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin, ACEC, and environs, while preventing further deterioration to the flora, fauna, water, and environment.
I think it's good. I don't know if we need an environs if we have the ACEC, because that is the environs to a great degree.
I think what we're trying to say is it shouldn't just be the ACEC. It
Okay.
should be that drainage basin going down towards his house. 'Cause
Okay.
we've got some brook issues.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was gonna say.
And they're so interrelated.
I think the only thing, I would say.
So
you
maybe
wanna say
environs isn't the
environ-
right word.
Well, I think somehow you need to acknowledge that, because I'm just thinking about, like, we're thinking about it in this window of time. When in fact, 60 years ago, it was a whole different, set of conditions that were defining what was the sort of baseline. And now, and in 50 years from now, the baseline could change again, and there could be like a whole set of other, streets or what have you. So I do think that saying something ACC and its environs is probably a good thing, because
Okay.
it encompasses the area that is, well, I guess what we would call the wetlands, or the waters from Rattlesnake that feed
The watershed,
the
yeah.
watershed.
Watershed,
And then
yeah.
anything downstream down to the river, because that's.
You've got upstream, you've got Highland Farm and all that stuff, and then
Yeah.
you've got the downstream thing too.
Yeah.
I don't know that Highland Farm has an effect on it necessarily. It's on the other side of the mountain.
I read it somewhere in some of the historical stuff, like some of the documents, 1,000,000 documents that we've read, where it talked about Highland Farm runoff running into something, and whether it went straight into Kampoosa, I don't know, but, so that's why I brought that up, but,
I don't know how it could.
okay, maybe it was just a
It
research
is on the other
project or
side of the
something.
mountain,
It
so
is
it'd
on
be
the
kind of tough.
Mountain. They don't own
I mean, it
the
could be an aquifer, but I mean, who
Yeah.
knows? I mean,
aquifer possibly, but
Yeah.
they don't own the property on the southwest side of the mountain.
yeah,
It's pretty much along the ridge line.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of the mountain that's protected. I mean, the
That's good.
Stokes Frelinghuysen property is protected. Ours is protected for whatever that's worth, because it's like filled with phragmites. There's the cabin up the hill, but there's somebody living there, but there's no infrastructure for that. It's
Okay.
just a little log cabin.
Right now.
And then John Hart's property. And,
Does he have a big piece of property too?
he has a fairly good sized property, and then I think it's the trustees that
Trustees
own
have
what
that.
used to be the Hill Water Company.
They have like that little,
Because Jack Fitzpatrick bought it when it failed. And I think it's the trustees.
And some is Nature Conservancy too.
And Nature Conservancy is on
there's-
the other side of the road.
right.
And then the Chassels, what was the Chassels property is now the Nature Conservancy. And that's what our project now at 13 Rattlesnake is gonna be in that,
In that area.
in that group.
so, All right, so I'm gonna read it again and we'll see if we like it as is. Do we think environs is the right word? Do we say and surrounding area? Should we say, I don't want to say watershed because I think that's a specific
Is it-
defined thing, but
I'm using not probably the right words, but like surrounding ecosystem or something like that. That's,
okay.
I don't know, is that the right
We have
word?
to define it.
I just wasn't sure if environs was, if we feel like that's comprehensive enough.
I think it's an okay word.
What's that?
I think it's an okay word.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine too.
great.
If we had an issue with it, I was like, they
No.
only gotta come up with this like ecosystem, which is
Yeah,
not really.
so I'm just gonna say environs. So right now we have to protect, maybe we say preserve first, because that's how we were. Preserve, protect, and restore the fen. We want fen, right?
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of restore. It suggests that we can go back in time, which we can't. And we can't know when we're removing Phragmites that by removing Phragmites, we're actually restoring something. All we can be sure is that in that moment in time, we're taking out some Phragmites, or whoever is taking out Phragmites.
But it wasn't there.
But
And I wouldn't want it in a mission, but I'm okay with it in a vision.
yeah.
It's supposed to be aspirational.
And is the fen just, I asked this question once again out of ignorance, but is fen too restrictive of a term?
I don't know.
Because that,
It is a fan.
It is a
The
fen.
calcareous fen is one of only two in Massachusetts.
no, I know that, but yeah, okay. Because that's, the whole entire ACEC is considered a fen?
No.
But if we add environs is the surrounding.
No, I
area
know,
or
I'm just
district,
trying to
so-
understand like the whole comprehensive area we call Kampoosa Bog. Is
It's
it,
not all a fen. We've got a forest in there. We've got like other sort of environments as well.
so is our only aspiration to protect the fen?
Well, it's the
AC.
Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin so the ACEC name is Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin, ACEC. So that doesn't include the word fen, but it's, because it's known as Kampoosa Bog.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, should we change it to be something more inclusive of the ACEC? So saying that whole, rather than just simply focusing on the fen, like, I don't know, like,
Well, but we add and stewardship of the Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin. They're
okay,
both in there.
okay,
I think that the fen itself is the thing that's rare.
okay,
Yeah.
The
And the fact that
environment-
it's calcareous.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
okay. I mean, I just,
environs are not so much,
okay,
especially.
I'm totally fine with that.
I'm just trying to think it through out loud. Because, I mean, part of the ACEC is the Mass Turnpike, which is
Yeah, sure.
scary.
And the
Tennessee Gas
pipeline.
goes through the corner of it as well.
So the work that you shared with, I'm just trying to throw some things out there. So the work that was just shared today about the improvement of egress between one side of the road and the other side of the road, is that,
The thing that I emailed to all of you guys?
yeah,
It's not on the agenda, so we're not supposed to discuss it.
oh, okay, all
I was gonna
right,
put it on the next agenda, but
Okay.
Patrick White sent me an email and said, I want to give you all the background, give me a call.
okay.
So-
I'm just wondering, is that, I mean, like, it seems like that's,
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Tom,
I
Bill
sent-
sent it out a while ago. I'll show you.
Oh, you guys had
okay,
it.
maybe
before
we
me.
shouldn't talk about it, but I'm just like, that particular initiative,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, is that inclusive of this aspirational vision, like all of it? Like, in terms of restoring it, like the word restore connotes a specific thing, and does that jive with what they're doing? It seems like it would, but I also
Because it's
want
supposed to
to,
be improving
Yeah.
things that aren't working very well right now.
right, but is that truly restoring it, and how might that alter the actual ecosystem?
That, I
Right.
think that's a wildlife crossing.
It is.
I don't think it's a.
And drainage.
It would go under the road.
Drainage there, that was the thing.
Oh, I do know about this,
Yeah.
sort of. I just scanned it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for anything that will keep
Crush
things
fewer
from getting
turtles.
squished down the road.
Yeah, help our spotted turtles.
Yeah, and I am too, I'm just trying to understand.
You're playing devil's avocado, I like it. Okay, so.
Would someone come back to us and say, is this truly restoring the thing by doing, by potentially altering the drainage? of
Right.
the- of
I
the-
mean, we're doing this work for the vision and mission, maybe a little bit selfishly, so that we know how to move forward with all these other stakeholders. Because right now, I don't even know how to have a conversation with Mass DOT
We're
or
a committee
anybody.
without an agenda.
Yeah,
I get
I
that.
know.
We need to finalize.
We have to finalize
Yeah,
this,
we
because
do.
then I can say to, we can all say to people, here's what we're trying to do, and then, based on who we're speaking to, get information out of them that helps support this. So, because right now, it's sort of like, I don't know who to, so I think last time we said I should call somebody from Berkshire Regional Planning, and I was like, what am I gonna say to her?
Yeah, no, if we can finalize this.
Yeah.
tonight, that would be great.
So, do we think we want to keep the word fen? I know that,
No, it's fine.
everybody calls it the bog, but we know it's a fen, so, okay. So what I have is
That's the
to,
technical term for it,
Yeah.
so I think it's good to use it.
As long as it's there and the ACEC part of it's there and the environs is there, I
Yep.
think we've covered all of our bases.
I agree.
And Lauren Garrity was the person that I think I suggested you call at Berkshire Regional Planning, because she had quite a lot to do with the
Courtney Morehouse
early,
was who was suggested at the last meeting. Courtney Morehouse.
don't even know who she is.
Okay.
But I know Lauren was quite involved.
She's a senior
with-
planner.
She was quite involved with the work that we were doing, however, God only knows how many years ago.
Okay. 90.
30.
Close.
Well, that's when it got to be ACEC was, I think.
93, if I'm remembering correctly, so that's 30 years ago.
Okay, so we have to preserve, protect, and restore the fen by fostering community support and stewardship of the Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin, ACEC, and environs, while preventing further deterioration to the flora, fauna, water, and environment. Restoring, but also preventing.
I think that's a good starting point.
I do too.
If we don't like it in 3 weeks, we can, come back and say,
I think it's okay for aspirational, I mean, we can't prevent anything, really. This can be, this,
Us personally.
yeah, we can't.
we can be,
I don't know.
we can be squeaky wheels.
I don't know if I totally agree. I think there's potential for, I'm gonna make up maybe a scenario, if we know something is happening, like let's say in the environs, and it could have a negative, either literal downstream effect or some sort of
But it would be
negative, we
it
could,
would be the Concom.
exactly, but if we,
It could
maybe
be the
we
squeaky
know
wheel.
about it, or I don't know.
I think but.
We write the MVP grant for something, I think there are things we can do.
Weren't we calling ourselves a clearinghouse?
Yeah, we've
So-
talked about that a lot.
So does that need to be a part of our,
I think that should be a mission.
That's a mission,
that's our mission, okay,
because the
that's
mission
fine.
is what is kind
Right.
of the to-do.
But by being that in our mission and being a clearinghouse, we can at least provide the information needed to help.
That we can do.
Which is great.
Those
Right.
linkages,
Right.
you should talk to you and,
Right.
whatever, yeah, or have them both come to our meeting, or I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever it is. Yeah, okay, so that's, all right, so the vision, I'll email this out. Thank you, Sally, for taking us back to the restore world.
I move to support the vision statement.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
yeah, that's just.
There we go. Now it's official.
Now it's official. Thank you. All right, so the previous vision statement was actually from 1999, just FYI. So then our mission, we had talked a lot about, we had kind of gone through this before, based on what the previous committee had, but we added some additional things, which was like facilitating communication and resource project sharing between core partners, protecting, we talked about coordinating cultural and environmental data. My question is, I don't quite know how we would personally be coordinating data. But should I?
Well, there was all the work that was done at UMass, for instance, which is data.
Yeah. I guess I'm questioning how we're coordinating it.
I don't know. I'm just saying that there's,
Yeah, there
there's.
definitely is data out
There's
there.
stuff out
Yeah,
there
there's
that
road salt studies and,
whether, how we coordinate it, I don't know. Just put it in a drawer and it's all in one place.
But down the line, maybe we can get an intern with a grant we could pull that information together. I think it'd be good to have it in the mission, even though I
Okay.
can't do it right now.
Okay. So
And coordinating the data doesn't mean you actually have to be in possession of it.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And by being a clearinghouse, we can just simply become our own little,
And there's also all the, stuff like, I don't know, and all those sort of out there ways to.
Other ways to communicate.
Get people to understand and know about what we're doing. I'm not saying we necessarily have to have a Facebook page, but, when this was being done, people were just beginning to, have computers and.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Personal computers. Yeah,
And
work.
all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the things that were done originally weren't necessarily disseminated in a way that they could be disseminated now. I mean, we could have a
That's
web
true.
page, or we could have God only knows what we could have that people could go to
have a
and say,
Substack.
oh, if you're interested, this is.
one thing I was just gonna say,
Happening.
going back to that software, so we're building out that software for the land trust. And I've kind of made the decision, which I'll get everyone else to buy into, is that we do have a number of conservation restrictions that are part of the environs. And so I'm going to just indicate that we should probably have a database of information on the Kampoosa bog, because it could impact any of these CRs down the road. That's my way of saying,
Land trust? or
yeah,
is it-
so we'll have it captured in the
Way of
land.
getting us in there.
It's our back doorway into being able to have this data and information somewhere in a computer format that can be accessible digitally.
Why not? That's great, but I think we need it on a town. The land trust is.
Yeah, but the thing is, once I assemble all that, I can just go
And you
put
can
it somewhere
You
else.
just dump it
But
someplace
like,
else.
until we can figure out what that is and we can settle on that and not have to deal with
The town
the.
wasn't on board due to security issues partially and
And
cost.
costs, the municipal license was extraordinarily expensive.
For that software, but isn't there some way that the town could store the data?
Yes, but they will only give access to one person on the committee
Well, for the
to
town.
upload and all that stuff. So that was like where we got a little bit stuck last time, because it's like, then one person has to upload and organize, and it's a lot. That's where.
And then they become the bottleneck.
Yeah,
So if you wanted some information and then say, I'm the keeper of the information, I have to then give it to you. And I don't think that's right. I think anyone on the committee should be able to
and
access the
I said,
information.
can I just share my login and password? And they were like, we don't really want you to do that.
Yeah.
What about
Like,
the
okay.
library? I mean, I'm not opposed to
The
doing
Stockbridge
that. I
Library?
just think it should be something within the town and not a private
That's an
organization. Because the Stockbridge Library already has a lot of it digitally. That's how we got some of
Those
those.
photocopies and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
so somewhere where if
That's
a
fine,
grad
too.
student wants to do research, they can contact the town and the town can say, yeah, go to the library, go.
But would you be the one, Rich? Because isn't that what you do
What?
in the real world? Web pages and things like that?
Yeah, but this is mostly just like, so we're using this software to compile all the information about every single CR we have. So it's not only the annual monitoring, but it's also the CR itself and any other type of documentation that might need to go alongside it. So like if there was like a permit that went through the Concom or the select board on a particular piece of land that is clearly not violating the CR, we would put that stuff in there so that we know that it exists and they did this stuff and it didn't violate the CR. Or conversely, they did something and they didn't know that it was violating the CR, and we can put that all into the record for any particular property. So it's just basically a system, and it allows us to map the property as well.
Okay, so in terms of the CR, I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. I know that there are a number of CRs within the ACEC.
I'm just saying so the software itself allows me to create a database on any particular property on which we have a CR. So it allows me to just capture data about a property, any given property.
Okay, so that's the land trust.
And that's the land trust. So what I can do is and because our CRs are in the environs of
But
that.
not all of
No.
the
no, but-
CRs within the ACEC are
Right.
part of the land
But I can
trust.
create a record on the Kampoosa bog that then can be referenced in these other CRs. So
Okay, all right,
it's
I
just
get it.
my own little way of
Okay.
finding
It's-
And
a
again, I think
loophole
it's okay,
to,
but I still would want it within, I'm just hesitant to have it all in the hands of.
yeah, and I don't think I would actually suggest that we put this in there for perpetuity. I would just suggest that, lacking a repository to which we could store this stuff, we can put it in there for now, and then when we find the right facility for that, we can just dump it into the new.
Well, Michael
would
Play
suggest-
would have all the CRs.
Who would,
Michael Play, the assessor's office, because that would affect how the properties are taxed.
but I'm thinking of a place where if you want to do research on Kampoosa Bog, you
Right.
can go and it's all there. So I would suggest one, let's invite
Historic.
Michael to the next meeting to talk about it.
Which
Michael
Michael?
Canales, to talk about how the town might do
Okay.
it. And two, I'm happy to go to the archivist at the library and see if there's any way that they can do it, if you want me to do that.
Or even if they have even if all of us as volunteers just put in there what we have, I
I don't know
don't,
if they would let us.
yeah,
but I
like
can
would they
ask.
let us
You can just
dump all of our
ask
stuff
if they
into
have
some
some
place.
already, if we
They
can
do.
add to that.
yeah.
But again, it is a private organization. It's the same situation.
Yeah, but
The
it's
library.
town
Town
funded to
Town
a
library.
third of
Town
their
funded,
budget
it's
is
still-
town
I know, but
funded,
it's still a
so.
private organization
Yeah,
and,
but it's a
It's not the
town.
municipality.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
but it's like they would have it in their archives as a town library, so that
Right.
the town, the town hall can say it's in the town library if they don't want it, if they don't want everyone.
Isn't it within our
access there.
purview to be able to make recommendations as to where we want to have this stored if the town can provide a facility for it?
Yes, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's just, we can do that. We can simply just say that, we'll talk with different organizations to see where we could, house this.
So let's start with, let's ask Michael too.
Yeah,
I had asked him
Yeah.
before. I haven't circled back with him. Well, what he said is, yes, we have a place, it's like something in the cloud. For our committee, they would give us one log on. And we would, so that, what I didn't like about that is it's just a bottleneck,
Sure.
And it's only one person. Meanwhile, you've got some
Unless
stuff,
we all
you got
share
some
the
stuff,
log
you
on.
got some stuff. Well, so then I circled back with him and said, one log on doesn't seem like it makes sense for us. There's too much stuff and too many people that have access to stuff. Can I get other logons? The answer was no, because it's a security issue, which I understand.
Yep.
But because they also don't know, our own home setup and am I on my personal computer and just all that junk. So then I said, can I share the logon? And they were like, no.
So do you want me to ask the library?
Yeah, I think ask the library, but I'll circle back with Mike Canales and because, I feel like a lot of the committees in town are asking
I
for
was gonna
this
say,
sort
how
of
are we
stuff.
any
We're not-
different than the select
we're
board?
this- We're this
Like, we're
little
only-
PJ thing and we're
We
the
don't have the
only,
authority, but we have effectively the same membership, the number of people. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they have an online cloud where they all go to access information.
what does
So-
Concom do? Is it all like hard copies and then it's uploaded somewhere or it's folders or? Folders, yeah.
Are you
I mean,
doing
we
the same?
get our applications digitally. For the most part, not every one of our applicants does it digitally, but most of them do. And a lot of the notices of intent, and the order of conditions that we issue are on the DEP website. You can look at them there. But
And then you guys sign, because I've seen in the meetings where stuff gets passed around, and we're
Right.
signing hard
we're
copies of those
very,
going to a file.
very paper oriented, which irritates the daylights out of Mark
Okay.
Stinson, who keeps saying, can't you just do it digitally? And I'm like, no, because this is the way we do it as long as I'm the secretary. This is
Got it,
how we're
got
gonna
it.
do
And
it.
most of it's stored in that filing cabinet.
It's stored downstairs. We have
It's stored
an
downstairs.
office.
Okay, you do, okay.
with
So who
57.
do we share?
I would think there's so much you would need.
Well, it's back to the 70s.
Yeah.
We have paperwork back to the 70s of all the applications that we have. And so when somebody comes in for a certificate of compliance from 89, we have the paperwork downstairs, whereas digitally, when we moved from the old town hall to this one,
stuff was not there. We've changed servers. We've changed,
Yeah.
I don't trust it.
But there's a filing cabinet over here on this
To have
floor,
Concon stuff in it.
but the land trust shares it with some other conservation group.
Not us,
Okay,
at least not as far as I know, because
well, maybe we should take a look at it.
I have no knowledge of anything being up here.
I mean, we've effectively digitized most of what's in our filing cabinet so that,
Well, we're digitized. I mean, it's on the, it's in the town. We have our own, whatever it is,
Conservation at Town of Stockbridge,
that has all of my files that I have gotten digitally.
they're all,
There, or at least most of them are there. But
But if you got a hard copy, it hasn't gone back, it hasn't been digitized.
No.
Got it.
no, it should be the same thing. It should be the digital copy plus the hard copy.
So is there a scanner in the Concom office?
Well, I guess there is, but I
Yep.
don't know where it goes
Easy now, love it.
when it gets scanned. I could
scan
scan
from
from
upstairs and scan it down into the thing, but I've never done that.
Okay.
I mean, it could be
In
done,
in theory, okay.
but it's too much.
Okay, so I want to get to a few more agenda items. So I'm gonna email out the draft mission, and if we can try to take a look at that before the next meeting. And I will also print copies for everybody so we can have a good discussion. Maybe we can nail that down
I think it's
next
close.
time. I think it's close. We've gone through it before and it's not very different from what was there before.
You know
From
who might be a
1999.
resource also, not that they would do it, but the Rockwell Museum, because they have
Their stuff that they've digitized so that people can access it from
Right,
remote.
because they have
just
that
the
big
art
study center.
It's just what?
It's just the art.
Yeah,
There's a whole history of the museum that's not digitized.
right.
but they're,
That's not
You
in
know,
the
they keep
collection.
moving toward it.
Yeah, I know, I'm in charge of it,
Yeah.
so.
So, but don't they,
I mean, people can remotely access
They
stuff.
can, but we don't let anybody else go in there, because it's
Okay.
it's like,
maybe I
the
don't.
value of the museum is the painting, the
Right.
paintings and the data about
Yeah.
the paintings.
But they've been doing the photographs and stuff too, haven't they? I mean, that's what
Yeah,
CPA
but-
has funded that.
No, they have,
Yeah.
but it's just like, that's like, if we have other things encroaching in that system, like they inadvertently get mixed in with it.
Yeah,
No, I wasn't suggesting that they do it or even have anything to do with it, just
Yeah.
their experience with the same kind of,
Yeah, I'm actually trying to move us towards a new system, a newer system that would be fully cloud-based. So that, because because we travel exhibitions, stuff needs to be managed remotely. And
right,
it's not,
it's not
it's
there.
effectively what you're doing is that they're doing everything, old school. And
Yeah.
then they have to take pictures and then put it in things and upload it, and it
yeah.
takes forever. So I'm just trying to get it so that we don't have to do that anymore. So that's why I was like, the software that the land trust is using is effectively what we really want. It's just that the municipal licensing for that software is not, I don't know where they're going with it.
Is there a grant that could be had for us or for the town? I know there are all kinds
There
of.
could be.
I mean,
Maybe I can,
there's
I'll ask Michael about
the
that.
municipal, the climate.
We're not the only ones that need this.
I don't know if it's climate based, no.
I mean, if you even got something where you could work with the Berkshire Planning
That's what I was
Commission
wondering.
and you got every town in it, you
Right,
could share a lot of information in a system like that.
yeah.
For other things we want to do, but I don't know about
It's
that.
a good point, the grant. I didn't think about the grant.
Yeah, we haven't
The
talked about that.
nonprofit rate is extraordinarily favorable because it's like one fee that's like $700 and it's unlimited logins.
Oh, wow.
But the municipal one is like $3,000 and you get one login
And it's per year?
per year.
Yes, it's
And I was
subscription based.
like, are you kidding? What, how do you, anyway.
That's how tech makes their money. Look at Netflix.
could it become,
Not-for-profit in some way? Could it be incorporated, I wonder?
You mean us?
Yeah, the stewardship committee.
I don't know.
could it be? And if
I mean, I
so, could
think-
we get the license?
Under the
I think when we were trying to look at it, we were thinking the whole town probably needs this, conservation could use it,
Yeah,
whatever,
Ron had looked into it. too,
everybody.
for conservation.
Okay.
Yeah, and they decided no.
Well, Ron's technical
No, but I think in conjunction with Michael, I think there were lots of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Ron made the decision
Yeah, I don't think it was
independently.
just Ron.
I think I'd go back to something like the Berkshire Planning Commission and be like, hey, wouldn't this be a great tool for the entire county to put all this information in and then have it so
That
that,
would, to me, that would.
Yeah,
make
that
sense.
makes sense.
That would make sense.
so.
It absolutely makes sense. And then that, of being able to track all the CRs.
And so, I mean, you can do site
Because
visits,
BNRC uses it too.
you can do a lot with it.
They use the same one that you guys are using?
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we ended up going with it is because we co-hold CRs with them. And so
Yeah.
being able to share that information through a system makes life a lot
So
easier.
you're using it, BNRC is using it. Anybody else that you know of?
I would,
Locally, I don't know, but
Okay.
I would think.
But imagine like site visit data from all the points from organizations that go in within the ACEC. If site visit data were available from all of those points over time, you know, you could really.
Because you can upload the pictures, you can take
Yeah,
notes, you can do a lot.
yeah.
I mean, it's really brilliant because you can like walk the property, take a picture, it geolocates you, you can put in notes, you can just dictate it and then.
Oh, it's
pretty awesome.
nice
It's
software.
really good software.
And you can do it without having Wi-Fi or cellular.
I mean, I don't know, like, a lot has changed in Stockbridge now, so you can pretty much go almost anywhere and have something to work with. Believe it or not, because I've walked all of
true
our
on Lake Drive.
properties, and between last year and this year, it's a huge difference in terms of data access.
I would think that would be a great asset to conservation.
Yeah, well, I had brought it to the commission.
I mean, we
And
have
Ron looked into it.
I mean, we watched that video that you sent
We
us.
have all the coordinates of anything that gets submitted. It's
Automatically within the
application are the coordinates, the
Put it on our agenda.
latitude
again.
and longitude.
I
of
think
the
we
property that we're looking at.
talked to Michael and we talk about maybe something larger where we can, talk to, the planning commission and all these other groups and say, hey, wouldn't it make sense for us all to be on this?
And there's also the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee,
Right.
which I'm on.
Yep.
And I know that there's been a lot of discussion over the years about the watershed and what that means and what the effects are, which it's kind of not in the same place, but still, that's
talked to them.
where Hylon
Yeah.
is a
Right,
factor for
right.
sure. But I don't know, it'd be interesting. I mean, like, we're looking at a property on Rattlesnake right now. And it's definitely gonna affect the ACEC in some way. I mean, and we're not sure at this point what it's gonna do, but it's definitely, it all goes that way. So.
All right, I'm gonna move us to the next thing. So I wrote down area of focus, and what this agenda item is, as I'm looking at all this stuff, I think, not that we have to figure this out today, but I think we're gonna need to decide what are, out of everything in here that we can do, what is it that we wanna tackle? Is it invasives? Is it water quality? Like, what is it?
Well, I think we've talked about this many times, and that two, if I remember correctly.
I don't feel like we've
two
landed,
things-
though.
Well, there were two things identified in the original management plan, and they were invasives and, help me people,
I thought it was water quality.
invasives and it might have been water quality.
Invasive plants.
Invasive plants and water quality, I think those are the two. I think, because I keep thinking about, there's mass wildlife habitat management grants with which Patrick is encouraging us to do for many areas, but including Kampoosa. But I think the first step is a survey in terms of invasives, so that we know what's there. We don't really know what's there.
And we talked last time
Say we want someone to
about,
come in get rid of the invasives, but we don't know what they are.
And we don't know the last time that a real comprehensive survey was
Right, and
done.
we don't know if Nature Conservancy has done one, maybe they have, and we just don't know, so
Well,
I
I would
think,
think Jess would know. She was the one who was doing
Yeah.
it. She doesn't?
I don't know, she didn't respond to that. We've asked,
She's
Busy.
pummeled this
Yeah.
summer, so.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm actually gonna be seeing her on Wednesday, so I'll ask her.
okay, because I've emailed her a few
Because
times,
she did and proposed the work.
but it was a while ago.
But
It was a while
It was a
ago.
while
Yeah,
ago, so I
when-
think regardless, we would need a new survey.
she was not able to actually do the work because by the time things moved on it, her company was moved off the blanket,
They did some. They
contract
did some, yeah.
blanket. They did some, but not.
Maybe not all, but talking to
Yeah.
Sari, her partner, they did some.
Okay,
They did a lot.
Yeah, they did.
They did a lot for
But it was.
many years.
It
they
was
did.
like 2010,
Yeah, it
2009,
was a while ago.
2010. So I think we need, the first step is a current survey. I
Right,
think
and
we
so
should-
we've got the drone footage as well. So when you're saying survey, is it a human being going through there? How was the survey done in the
it's like
past?
a baseline study that basically goes through the whole property and
Okay.
identifies all the different.
So I think,
elements.
With survey equipment?
Surveys, it's more than that. So like in a baseline, like we just had a baseline done over in Westdale. And it basically, they walk the property, they look they observe the flora, they determine if what are the invasives that are there? What are some of the native species that are there? What are the rare ones? They also look at the watershed and any type of potential evidence of aquifers or anything like that. So they put all that stuff into this baseline study.
and who
What
did
time of
that?
year though?
What?
Who did that?
A company, but they're based out of the Pioneer Valley there. They've been really great. I mean, I found them to be extremely helpful. Westdale. I just had it right here. Conservation Works LLC in Northampton.
Okay. So I think it makes sense, I forget the gentleman's name that you invited from Nature Conservancy, Louise.
Oh, Rennie Wendell?
Yeah, to get him back, he had said at that original meeting, I want to help. He even wanted to be on the commission. I think it makes sense to get him back to the next meeting, see what the Nature Conservancy has done, and see if they are interested in doing a survey. And then we can write a grant to do a survey.
Okay.
But I keep looking at the MVP. It'd be great to apply, but we need to figure out what
Yeah.
we're asking for
Right.
before we do
Right,
that.
we need to figure out what our problems are.
Right.
We think we know some of the
But I
problems. I
think-
mean, we can see some of the problems from the road, but what time of year do they do these surveys?
Can happen anytime.
Okay,
Typically, I mean, I don't know about
It
the
has to be with
winter.
some vegetation
Within
has
the
to
winter, but I mean,
be
like,
growing.
we've run 2 or 3 baselines in the last few months, so.
okay.
I would think it would need to be after things have begun to emerge.
Like June, May, June,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we've done, I mean, we've done some late into fall and it was still doable. But, once you get snow and then once you start to have, decomposition and stuff like that, it's like you gotta wait.
But now is the time to get our ducks in order.
Yep.
Yeah, so that we can apply for a
Yep.
grant. So can we invite Renee to the next meeting?
Yeah, you know him, right? Or,
Well, I don't know him, but I mean, I have been in contact with him,
Contacting him.
yeah, in the last year, so.
are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, so ask him to attend next.
Yeah, and-
Specifically, what's
I'd
the,
like to know if Nature Conservancy has done any recent surveys or if they'd be interested in us trying to get funding
And what's
for them to
ongoing? That would
do-
be interested to know that, what's ongoing, because they've got the monitoring station there, the water quality monitoring.
Yeah, what
Are
are they
they
doing?
monitoring it there or is it just sitting in the ground?
they specifically TNC?
Yeah. Well, it was put in by UMass, but I don't know, it's now the Nature Conservancy's property, and I don't know if they're doing anything with it or if it's just kind of still sitting there. It's the one that's just off Rattlesnake, and I think there's one further down too.
So if we could get a sense from him, then we can invite Carrie Ann to come talk to us about what makes sense for a grant. And
So interested in doing a survey if we specifically could come up with a grant or if they could apply for a grant? Either one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if does CPC fund surveys? I know they don't fund invasive removal, but might they fund? partial
We
funding?
we do invasive removal if it's contributing to open space. We could fund a study up to about $5,000 that would help. The language says it's to help inform the committee as to what the project would be. So it's
Piece
kind of
something
like an
together.
engineering study could be done saying that this is what, but it's basically to inform the committee about a potential project that would be coming up. So I think so.
But we can maybe piece it together.
I can
from a
ask.
few different.
I can ask Jenny.
Contact
Merrill.
Conservation Works to everyone.
Okay.
I can also do an intro too, I just,
I thought when I was in the Great Barrington CPC, we couldn't do invasive removal, but that was a while ago.
We've done invasive removals at Gould Meadows,
Okay.
but it's under open space. So it's maintaining and recreation, so it's,
Okay, great.
Just did that work, didn't she?
I'm sorry?
Just did that work,
Yes.
yeah.
It looks so pretty. My favorite corner.
Okay,
All right, so we're gonna add, if you can, so I guess just let me know if he
Yeah.
says he can make the meeting. Our next meeting is the 16th of October, and he can Zoom in. He doesn't have to come, because I think he lives in Sheffield, so doesn't have to come. And hopefully he can make it, so we're gonna, okay. And then the next thing, all right, so that's area of focus. So I guess I wanted to come out and say, we have talked about water quality and we have talked about invasive plants. And if we all agree that that's what we should focus on.
And there's still the issue out there of the money set aside for the hydrology study, which is still out there and.
Hot potato.
Yeah, exactly. So that at least at one point was one of our areas of focus
Yeah.
was, are we going to do anything to move that along, to have a hydrology study done or have some kind of work
Yep.
done about the water quality? So that's all.
There must be, I would think there would be federal grants for water quality.
Well, and then we have that clean cold, what was it called? When Allison Dixon came from the she worked for the HVA.
She still does.
Oh, she still does? She's retiring. She came to our last meeting.
Is she going out?
She's retiring. She's going to work for Berkshire Regional Planning though.
Oh, really?
In a part-time capacity.
Good for her.
She said she wasn't exactly sure what kind of job it was going to be, but that's where she was going. So there's also the Clean Cold Connected Water Partnership, which is through Mass DEP and also with BEAT and BRPC. So, and Trout Unlimited also has funding. So she gave us, I think, a lot of places to look into.
but back to you, do we know, is there any paperwork on what that hydrology study, because there's $50,000, right?
So at our last meeting, I had watched the select board or the annual meeting, the portion of the annual meeting that addressed that, took notes on what Patrick said and what Michael Canales said at the meeting, which I haven't looked at since that meeting, those notes. So I can resupply that, but that, so far as I know, is the only info, the only background we have, because when one or more of us asked Patrick about that,
Patrick said it was Jess said it was Patrick.
yeah, I mean, he didn't have any more memory.
That was our last meeting.
Anyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And even Allison said, oh, I thought it was Jess and Patrick. So, because, I mean, she was aware of it, so.
Do you want to?
And when was this done?
Oh, I saw that email and just did say it was.
2020.
Yeah,
21,
Patrick said it was just as anything.
21, 22.
Because why would Patrick remember the hydrology?
I'll ask Jess about
About a
that too.
hydrology study.
Yeah, so ask Jess if, I mean, because if the money's there, it'd be great to.
I mean,
Do it, but
the
we don't
money
know
is
what-
there. I think that we need to figure out what we're gonna do.
Michael and
I mean,
Erica.
it's still
can
there next year.
find
It's still gonna be there.
anything. Erica's brilliant. I mean, she really
Oh,
does.
Erica.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
she can find and sort out and figure out
Was she?
our treasurer. I mean, she really has her stuff together. Comes to getting things figured out. Because she did amazing work for the CPA, which we had, really no idea of what was going on.
I think regardless of how we got it, we have it. We know that the word hydrology is attached to it. We know we have water in the fen. So I think we'll find a way to spend it. I just suspect that it might be in combination with some other money and a much
Well,
bigger
there's gotta be
project.
some sort of
I don't know.
specific elements of it that secured that money, so we have to just know what
Find
that,
out
what those
what they
were.
were, what the.
Yeah,
I don't
What
know.
they were
It sounds like it happened fairly simply. It was brought up, it was
Oh, yeah.
voted on, it went on the warrant, and then I voted for it at town meeting. And then I walked over to Patrick and said,
what
can I
is
get
this?
involved?
Ask
So-
Erica what she knows.
Okay, that would be great.
And it's what is it called?
It was $50,000 put aside at the town meeting of 2022.
Was it 2022? I couldn't remember the year.
Yep. And it was for a hydrology study in Kampoosa. Passed overwhelmingly. I think there were 6 no's.
Hydrology study in Kampoosa. Okay, I'll ask her. 'Cause she's really so good at finding stuff and sorting it out.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah. Given that we've said, had much more fierce debates about other things with far more detail.
$1,200,
With far more detail.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that this just like went like that.
Well, for years, Conservation Commission had a fund that nobody could figure out what it was.
Oh, wow.
And then Tom found it.
Okay.
So
So
things have not always been well tracked.
the next thing, we had MVP grant, and then I called it the CPC. It's the CPA? Isn't it the committee? C for committee?
It's the Community Preservation Committee
Yeah,
who enforces the Community
Preservation Act. Okay, fine, good. So I'm not
So that's
nuts.
what I was asking, if there was
Yes.
funding for surveys or.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we want to.
I'll ask Jenny.
And what's the deadline?
We usually we do it in the winter, so it's, although it's going to be ongoing, apparently.
So it's once a year?
It's usually once a year.
Okay.
So we should get our act together
Yes.
to see
Yeah,
if we want to
because people would like it to
ask
go
for
into.
money for some kind of survey.
Well, that's why I think it's important to meet with, to talk to Rennie, because if we find, let's just say we find nothing, no survey, and if he says, oh, the last survey was, let's make it up, 2007, then we know nothing's happening, and then I think it's either talking to the company that you just sent us and trying to figure out how we can get the money together.
I think we can ask MVP for that,
Okay,
given that it's the bog.
okay.
But a combination, because CPC likes match funding. So try to piece it together in a couple different ways, depending, I don't know.
Well, depending on how you apply for the
Yeah,
MVP
right.
grant, you could actually apply for funding to do any type of follow-up work, based on what the output of the survey is.
Survey is,
Okay,
okay.
great.
So
So if we did the survey, we could then apply for the work to be done.
an action, you could apply for an action grant
Great.
that can include it can include the sort of investigative stuff. And then you can define it to have an action plan based on what you discover in the investigation, as long as you have some sort of clear idea of what you think you can do within a course of a year.
Right, so that's why we need all that information.
Is this
And
getting-
that would open a can of worms too, with how invasives would be treated.
Well, and 200 and something acres of this is in Lee as well. So And I don't know who owns those properties or, don't have access. Is it individuals? Is it
And
nonprofits? Is
typically on an
it the
MVP
town?
Well, on
What
an
is it?
MVP grant, you also have to get all the involved parties to basically agree upon it.
And we've,
We couldn't just do it for Stockbridge.
and
It's
like
not
on our
just
property
Stockbridge, but
line.
like if there are different entities like the Nature Conservancy, Town of Stockbridge,
Right.
the Marians, the state, I think you have to get everyone to agree upon that as part of your plan, because you have to present, everyone has to submit something, say they support this.
Oh, boy.
So
So this is going to be a lot of work, but
Yeah.
I think
it can happen.
we need to do it. I know.
Great things can happen like 3 weeks.
I know.
So,
Good, it's good. You're our inspiration.
The town of Lee, I mean, I know one of you reached out.
I reached out
You
to them
reached
2 or
out?
3 times.
Yeah,
No one
to
got back me.
Concom?
To Concom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one got back to me, which doesn't mean we
was it
can't.
Concom or the Land Trust?
I did both.
Okay,
I did both.
All right.
Didn't hear back from either one.
We had that young woman who came to our meeting who was on the Lee Concom.
Don't remember.
I don't either, but she came and I remember it was
What
Lee.
did she come for?
She just came to observe.
So maybe there's someone new
It's
there.
probably in my notes somewhere.
Okay, and there might be someone new that is interested. I sent it to the chair, who I don't remember.
I
who
mean,
it
their
was.
land trust website is frozen in time. Like, I think the last posting was like 2017 or
I
something.
think if we wanted to get their attention at some point, we'd get on their agenda and show up and say, this is who we are.
Better way to
This
do
is
it.
what we're hoping to do. It would be great to work with you on this among, any number of other partners. And, here we are.
Good idea.
Give you some time and just get on their agenda.
All right, I'm gonna look into the Lee Concom. I think Concom is the right place to start, not Select Board. And I don't know what their land trust does. Do you work with them at all on anything?
well, we have the like similar outcomes where we try to reach out to them and
Oh, okay,
it's crickets, so I
Got
don't know
it.
if they even meet regularly,
okay.
so.
I've been told by somebody who moved to Lee recently that unless you live in Lee, you don't get to do anything. I mean, forever,
Okay.
be a native.
And yet Bob Jones is on the
Yeah.
select board and is a recent
I would think.
transplant. It seems to me that, he's so interested in the water issues related to the Housatonic River that, CC him, talk to him.
I would think he'd be a great resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Because he used to live in Stockbridge, right?
Yeah.
did.
Okay, that's why you said recent transplant.
Yeah, and Kathy Plaken. Who's now on the.
She's Select Board? Oh, she's on Concom?
Came
Okay.
back.
She lives in Lee,
She came back from,
and she'd be happy to,
Okay, so I will find out.
others, I think.
I'll find out when the Lee Concom meeting is. Does anybody know Bob Jones?
you know his wife,
I do.
Okay.
you know him? Okay.
I mean, is it just worth a quick, hey,
Sure.
here's what
Bob's a
we're
great guy.
thinking of doing? Because if nothing else, he could connect it. I think you're totally right. We should just go to a meeting, or I should just go to a meeting or whatever. Okay,
Do you want me to contact Bob?
I think it'd be, I think it would be smart just to put the bee in his bonnet that we're here and, if he's got some other suggestion for how to approach this, I mean, maybe he knows what's going on with the land trust too. I just don't have any idea, of the 200, it's like 225 acres or something that's in Lee. Who owns that land? Is it privately owned? Is it nonprofit owned? Like, we have no idea, no way to access any of that. And I have to say, from all the documents that we've looked at, there wasn't a big chunk of it about Lee, except that the Lee
They were.
Land Trust was
And-
involved.
and the Concom
And
was
Concom
involved.
were both involved.
Yeah.
But it's not like there were a whole section where it's like,
No.
and now we'll talk about
We've
the
got
portion in
everybody
Lee.
else
Yeah.
really detailed in Stockbridge, but Lee is pretty ambiguous, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started this committee, we sent that letter out to not just people within the ACEC, but also the watershed and the downstream people and everything. We didn't send anything to Lee because we didn't have any contacts there, but, okay. All right, so.
So what do you want me to say to him when I get in touch with, if I get in touch with him? I'm sure I have his email.
I guess I'd like him to know that we exist, and if we needed to, that, we have plans to do things and in the Kampoosa bog area, and that 200 and something acres of the ACEC are actually in the town of Lee. So who should we be contacting?
If we want to do surveys
Yeah.
and invasive removal.
Yeah,
Who
who's
should be
the right
involved?
person?
Yeah.
He may say, I want you to talk to the town administrator first, and then go to Concom. I don't know.
I don't know who's on the Concom anymore. It's, what was his name? Can't remember.
Is Lee a bigger town than us? They have more
Yes.
people, right?
Not quite a lot.
Okay, okay. All right.
I just joined because I wanted to share something and I figured it's easier to share it.
Oh, hi. There you are.
There we go, when I'm ready. Oh, of course, no,
Is it a new business? Is that what?
it's kind of a new business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our next meeting is 10/16, then we already confirmed 11/20, which is the week of Thanksgiving week, but we had all said, we thought that was fine. I wanted to talk about December. I'm actually out of town on that day. It would be December 18th, which is Christmas is 1 week later on that Monday. So I wanted to find out if we want to do the 18th for December.
You couldn't be here?
I could join remotely. I'll be in New Mexico,
Okay, that's okay with me.
so I could still run it. That's fine. Yeah?
I'm gonna be here.
I think it'll be fine, yeah.
Okay. All
It's a
right.
Monday, it's not, I'm just like, there's not a lot of crazy things going on Monday, so.
Okay.
The Mondays are usually good for me.
Yeah. Okay, good. 12/18 and
I
then,
have to teach a class in Northampton, but I'm not doing it, so we're good.
January. Oh, that's interesting. So January, and then it would be January 15th, which is the third Monday in January.
Isn't that like
The
Martin Luther
22nd
King?
is Martin Luther
Martin
King,
Luther
because
King's
January
15th.
1st is a Monday. So we get that. It's early. So 12/18 and 1/15. And then does anybody talk to, since Arthur didn't come to the last meeting, he didn't come to this meeting. I didn't hear from him one way or the other, whether he was or wasn't coming. Does anybody talk to him? I mean, I can reach out to him again. He, like I said last time, he called me back
I
eventually.
see him like passing and then I try to like, he's always in like a rush to get wherever he's going, so I never really get his full attention to be like,
Okay.
do you need help getting back onto the
Yeah.
rotation?
Okay,
And I keep reminding him, it's like the third Monday typically of the month. But
Okay.
that doesn't really resonate with him, so we have to figure out.
yeah,
I think you kind of have to go and get him
okay,
these days.
okay. Physically pick him up?
Came to our meeting.
But he,
Right, because he's in a
He was
butter.
with somebody. Yeah,
Yes.
he was with somebody.
I see. Okay. All right. I don't know him well, but I'll just reach out to him again and just,
came with Stan Piaget. And usually he comes with.
because if he needs to be
Mark Rober.
picked up, I can pick him up. It's no big deal. She could pick him up. Aren't you neighbors? You guys are like live across the street
Kinda.
from each other or something,
Kinda
kind of?
neighbors.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, any other business?
So the one thing I just want to share is that if you recall, we had Nick Fretzel do a drone survey of the property last year. We have tons of
Is that
footage. and-
November?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was kind of late in the year, so it wasn't the greatest time, but we did get something. And I'm actually still in the process of putting it all together because it's such high resolution footage that it just wasn't it's taking time. But anyway, Nick has sort of expanded his offerings. So with his drones, he can actually do 3D scanning and surveying of properties. And he and I talked about it because he was like, would this be something of interest to the town of Stockbridge? And I said it would, but I'd need to get a sense of what the cost would be. And lo and behold, if you have Facebook, if you're on Facebook, go to Stockbridge Drone Solutions, but I'll share it now so that everyone in the world can see what I'm talking about. He did this, and I was pretty, this is something he did with some planning, but not an extensive amount of planning, and I thought it was pretty impressive what he did. So let's see does this play back okay?
He posts pictures on the Stockbridge Facebook page.
Yeah.
What, of things that he's
So
viewed.
So he's been able to do this, and this is a 4-minute video that is on Facebook right now. He doesn't have a website, so, but, and this is something that he can make available to us. And it will, what we're not seeing here is this is just a video, but, like, he can actually provide us with a little bit more detail because like we can actually understand elevations because like everything here looks kind of flat. but,
Yeah.
there's terrain there and there are hills and there are different,
So if he did a drone survey, could we pick out the Phragmites? Is the resolution?
So I did talk to Jess about this a
Yeah.
while back and she said, depending on the time of year, you could.
Yeah, because I think that's the
Yeah,
main.
because they have a distinct
That's
look to them,
concern.
even a color to them,
Or a
yeah.
look that you see.
But this takes you all the way over. What you're seeing in the top left is basically, I believe, I could be wrong, but I thought this was like this is like the area that's taking you down towards Route 7 where the brook then goes underneath the Route 7 and over to Yale Hill. I'm like, this is,
What's the outer boundary edge of this?
so that's what I'm saying. Like that line, I think is Route 7 right there.
Okay,
And then I don't know why it breaks off here. I think he might have followed the boundaries where the pipeline is.
Okay.
Instead of because that still goes through.
yeah,
the
that goes to that
Kampoosa
little
Lodge.
corner.
Yeah, so. And then this whole area in between here, I think is the forest, the black area here is like that forested land that kind of is the boundary line with the Marians. And
Okay.
I can't think of the person who owns the property next to, it used to be Terrence Hill, but I don't know who the new person is. So up there, they have that property and they're all lined with trees. Yeah, Rosswood, yeah. So, but, for what it's worth, I mean, he did this pretty quickly. And he could probably make at least this available to us, or we could actually, so now you can see that now we're starting to get some degree of
So ask
terrain here going on.
him if the drone is lower at a certain time of the year, if he could
Yeah.
pick out the Phragmites, and that would be
Yeah,
the
what,
easiest.
And the
way.
thing is, I could marry this up with the high definition footage. So if we're looking at something specific, we can then pull this back and look at the footage and see, but granted, that was November, but we had talked with engaging with them again,
Yeah.
at a different time of year.
well, one of our questions for Jess was if we could do 4 surveys a year, what's the right time of year to do it?
Right.
But I know we haven't been able to talk to
Right.
her about that.
So I just wanted to share this with you so you could see that this is something that is available to us.
And the
and-
cost was $900, is that what it was?
No, this was probably around $1,500. This would actually have somewhat of a recurring cost because all of the data gets housed onto a site. And then he would give us a login to be able to access it. And as long as we, and it's not it's a fee, one-time fee, but,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have to pay for it annually, but it would be something we'd have to pay to have access to. Because then we have access to it and it's not just going through his account.
Yeah.
So if he decides that he doesn't want to ever do this again, then we would lose that. That's why we would shift over. So I just wanted to
Yeah, no. it's
bring
very
that to
nice.
your attention, so.
It's great.
Okay,
It's a great resource.
yeah.
Does anybody have anything else?
Just want to ask people if you do have notes to add to the minutes from last meeting, please to send them to me. I'll bring them, incorporate them, and then we can vote on those along with.
I will by the
Today's.
weekend.
I'll email just you, so it's not like deliberation or whatever.
I will look to see what I have.
The BNRC folder, I actually made more headway. I went through the entire Marion's folder. So I actually am about probably 4/5 of the way done.
Okay,
And I actually went back and took photos of all the other items, so specifically like the maps and other things. I did not take photos of every single piece of correspondence between BNRC and the landholders. I did take pictures of like key ones, but like memos that were like very,
Yeah.
had no meaning. I didn't really
did you
care
learn
about it.
anything interesting? Or you just like not
Well,
really
it was
reading
just-
them, you're just,
This was the whole effort to kind of consolidate the properties, which would then become the foundation for the ACEC.
Got it.
You know, so it's like, there's a lot of individual landowners, and then they basically give the land to the Barians, or they gave it to BNRC.
Yep.
And then they started, so like, there are a number of properties that just, became fewer properties, so that it became then, you know, easier to manage with respect. I haven't gone, with the Marians then started consolidating even more. So there's, now they own a good chunk of it, and
Right. And then there was that donation to the town, which the town said, we
Correct.
don't want it, right? And so it just stayed with the
something like that,
Marians.
yeah. Which we should talk to them again, because if they want to donate the land, we should get it into, if not the town, then like BNRC or Nature Conservancy or you know, Laurel Hill or
Yeah,
something.
Laurel Hill, sure.
Something, you know?
Concom can hold a,
Okay, then Concom, yeah,
too.
yeah. No, I'm talking about holding the fee.
Oh,
So that's the thing, you know, if the Marians want to donate the land, we should,
Find somebody to take it.
somebody to
Yeah,
take it.
instead of just saying, no,
Yeah.
you can just keep it.
yeah.
Yeah,
We can vote to do that if somebody, we have to make a decision as to whether we think that the piece of property is worth
right,
preserving, which of
Right.
course it would be.
right.
How big?
It would be a no debate.
How big is the
Question.
property?
Yeah.
It's quite huge. I already
Oh,
forgot.
the piece that they want to donate.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just know it's not insignificant, because over the course of many years, from like the late 80s through the early 2000s, there was like a whole
This is where
effort of-
Arthur would know some
a
of this.
whole
off the
effort
top
of
of his head.
consolidation, and that's all documented in that BNRC folder. So, and I mean, like, even to like little pieces of land on Route 7 and stuff like that.
There was like a little
Yeah,
triangle and
yeah, literally, like, I'm like, really? You guys are going that far? So they just consolidated everything, so.
So that would be worth looking at. Yeah. Can it get to the can you get the information?
Yeah, so I'm actually getting close to being done with it, getting it, because I've itemized every document,
Great.
tried to encapsulate the gist of every document, dated it, who wrote it, all that stuff, and then I took photos of key things. Sometimes I took multiple photos, because like there's like maps, huge survey maps, and I couldn't scan it, and so I just took photos and then kind of pieced it together and called it a day.
That'll work.
Yeah,
Is it, would it have public access,
the documents?
these properties? Would there be public access?
I don't know if all of them do. From what I could see, some of them were still kind of privately owned.
No, the.
The Marians.
The Marians.
Marians, in terms of if they donated it, I would think so.
Because the CPC funding would be dependent on, for instance.
Of course,
if we're
yeah,
interested in
yeah.
CPC funding, it would
Yeah.
have to have public access.
But I think they were in a position where they were trying to just donate it.
So but that information would be good to get to the Concom.
No, I know, yeah. So we can go and.
We need Arthur for this discussion too, because he might know some
Yeah,
things
there's
just off
quite
the
a bit
top
up
of his
there.
head.
So many unknowns.
And just keep in mind that, you know, the Stockbridge Muncie community is very keen on some of that land up there too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's perfectly fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, I'm going to
Make
call
a
the meeting.
motion.
Yeah. I move that we close the meeting.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.